Hi, it's another great day here in North Carolina, and we woke up this morning and we're studying our center panel for springtime in the mountains, and we noticed that some of our leaves are just not enough contrast to the background. I wanted it new spring green, but some of these just blended into the background too much, and so we're going to replace a few pieces, and instead of replacing all those right now, we're just going to insert a new piece in what we're starting to build now. And generally we put all the background pieces down first. So I've put in a box to keep all these little pieces so that they're in a safe place while we're going to put down the background. So we're just going to start here and continue this way. So, I place some of these pieces close to where I'm going to be doing them. And so this is going to be right here in this corner. You see that registration mark. So what I'm going to do is just take my sharp embroidery scissors and just cut into that corner. And then we're going to use our glue stick. We've got a fresh glue stick today with a baby wipe in our shot glass. And so, let's get this up here. So we're just going to put glue stick in an outward motion just on that edge, And then we use our fingers. We have this facing towards us and just fold it back. The glue stick makes it tacky so it'll stay in place. You don't pre-fold anything, just put the glue stick on there and then turn it back. Just pinch it back so that your fabric matches the paper, and finger press. And then we're going to see what that looks like before we put the second gluing on there. So we have to just cut that off. We don't want any raw edges showing, and I could nip that and turn that little piece back, but I can also just clip that down like that. Get that out of the way and I'll check. So that's going to be good. We didn't want any raw edges showing. So that's our first piece. So now we're doing the second gluing. We glue. This time you can kind of glide it along that turn back edge. You're only doing it on the turn back edge. It's the glue stick that holds all the seam allowances together. The body of everything is held with this French Fuse foundation. So we do that. Whoops, I have to pay closer attention. I already had these pieces down earlier, and so this edge has to be turned too. So I'm just going to gently pull that up. Just don't yank it. See, it's attached, the sealing iron. So you can pull that up. Just gently support it. And now we also have to turn this edge right here because that's touching. So those are all, it's a gentle outside curve. Now before I put the second gluing on there, I'm going to double check. So we know that's right, and now this is right too. And you see there's a little registration mark, so we just line those up. So we put more, I'm putting more glue stick on it. And then lining that registration mark up in our corner up here again. And now we can seal that down. Okay, here we were using little pieces of French Fuse. You can see here it's loose, but it's overlapping this bottom part. And once we put this down, let me just check here. There's nothing else touching. We just are going to touch right here on that corner and there. Let's turn that long edge first. So you study your design, and just from the background, holding the piece up to where it's supposed to be placed, and see if it's touching anything. Anything that's touching needs to be turned under. You turn under the things that are going to be on top. So this is going to go right here. Let's see, that's going to look good right there. And over here, that's good because there's a leaf that will cover all of that. So we're safe to do this. The next thing we put down after the background are these tiny little stems so they don't get lost. So I'm going to do that next little stem. So that looks good. Okay, you see how that little stem is right there? We're going to put these background pieces down first. So there is 61A, so I'm going to look for that right here. And we put that down. It's really not touching anything, so I can put that down. See, it's just in the seam allowance. These are skinny little pieces, but this is all doable, so I'll position this very carefully. Just like that. Yeah, so you don't want to lose these little pieces that the numbers disappear in the seam allowances, you see. So we're sealing this down. And then we find our little piece here, and that's going to go there. So we turn both of these sides. We leave that open because something will be on top of that, and a petal of our dogwood is going to be on top of that. So we're going to just clip this in the seam allowance right there. And this gets turned under, the whole thing on this side. But we're going to leave this little part open because something else will be on top of that. It looks tedious, but it really goes together quite nicely. You just have to pay attention. So this is an inside curve here. We're just going to clip all of that just to the paper. As I'm starting to build the background, I just try to keep track of where any of these little stems might go because they kind of get hidden, but it's really important to the design. So now we're going to just turn one side under at a time. Use our fingers to turn it back. Finger press. I'm going to hold it up there again so you can see how that's going to line up there. But now we have to turn the top under up to that place only. We put a little clip there because something else will be on top. So we're going to just turn to that notch now. And that's all an outward curve, so there's no clipping required. So glue stick in an outward motion. Okay, You can see how that's going to go right there. See? And now we'll glue stick that and seal it down. Remember, be generous with the glue because that's what holds the seam allowances together. Seal it down. All right, that seemed like a pretty complex piece, but it all makes sense. We don't want to lose our little stems. Okay, so we always hold our piece up, and this is touching just here to here. Nothing's touching anywhere else, so all we have to turn is that little section right there. So I just use my sharp little scissors and make a clip in the seam allowance there. Just right there. I'm going to pick this up and cut it. Let's see, where did it go? Better find it again. Right there. Just put a little clip there. If I make a little notch, I can see it easier. But this is a slight inside curve. So I'm just going to clip it a couple places so it'll have a smooth edge when we turn it back. We'll double check. So that looks good. Now I'm going to put the glue stick on the seam allowance, the turn back seam allowance. And seal that down. I have this one nice big corner piece I'm going to put down because I want to make sure my lines are straight. So there is the outside edge of the quilt with the extra seam allowance, but I wanted to follow that line. And so I don't have to do anything to that piece except seal it down. We just carefully positioned it, and then you can seal it down. So that's a very easy piece to do. Right now we've positioned this nice corner piece, and so here we're just going to do a piece between. And so we find that piece, it's this one, and all we have to turn on this one is right here. That's an easy one. And right here, we just turn from here to here. And so I'm just going to use my embroidery scissors again and make a little notch. So this is all an inside curve. I'm going to clip that and turn it, and this will be an inside curve. I turn that whole edge. That's going to fit in there nicely. So now we'll glue those back of those seam allowances, just those areas that were turned back. Lining up those things and sealing it down. And that's just the way you progress all around here. We do all of the background first, taking note of any of these tiny little stems that are kind of hidden in there, and then just keep proceeding. Mostly the stems are on top, like over here.